My father told me a week before my son's birthday that they wouldn't attend. He claimed finances were strained. I trusted him because that's what you do with your dad. You believe him, even when something feels wrong, and it did feel wrong. I assured them we weren't planning anything extravagant. I'd arranged a simple gathering at the park, some friends, a homemade cake, snacks, and balloons from a discount store. My son just wanted his grandparents there. He's never been a demanding child. I told them if money was an issue, they didn't need to bring anything. Just show up, have coffee, be part of the moment. My mom sent a thumbs-up emoji. Later, my dad texted separately, "We'll see what we can do." I took it as a likely no, but I clung to a sliver of hope. The morning of my son's birthday arrived. He was eating cereal, chatting about whether to take his scooter to the park. Scrolling through Instagram absent-mindedly, I stumbled across my sister's live stream. I clicked. The first image was a massive bounce house, vibrant red and blue, grander than anything I'd ever rented. Kids were shrieking with joy. The camera panned to my dad holding a tray of cupcakes with custom toppers, characters from my nephew's favorite show. My mom was arranging a table piled high with gifts, almost as tall as her. Clowns, a magician, face painting, a photo booth with props. It looked like a dream party from a magazine. I froze. My son peered over my shoulder and asked softly if that was his grandparents' house. I said, yes. He fell silent, then whispered, "Don't they want me there?" I didn't know how to respond. I locked my phone and placed it face down. My hands trembled, not from rage yet, but from a sharp, cold realization that the people I'd always excused weren't just thoughtless. They were intentional. He grabbed his shoes, still clutching the card he'd made for my dad, drawn with crayons, hearts scattered across it despite being 10 years old. At the park, my husband kept things lively. He played music, grilled hot dogs, made everyone smile. But my mind was elsewhere. I kept replaying all the birthdays we'd tried to include them in, the trips across town we made so they wouldn't have to, the thousands we'd quietly spent on their rent, groceries, even my sister's car repairs. Yet they always poured everything into her kids, every single time. That night, I opened our email and found the rent payment we'd sent their landlord every month. $950 like clockwork for over 3 years. I took a screenshot of the document, typed "return to sender" in the subject line, and sent it. No explanation, no heads up, just that. By 9 a.m. the next day, I was in the shower when I heard it, loud, persistent knocking at the door. My husband said it had been going on for 20 minutes. He didn't answer. When I stepped out, still in a towel, my phone was flooded with missed calls, several from my mom, 2 from my dad, and a single text from my sister that read, "What did you do?" I sat on the bed, staring at my son's birthday card, the one he'd never get to give, the one I couldn't bring myself to discard. Then I heard the front door handle jiggle. They were using their old key, the one from years ago when my son was a baby, when they insisted on having access for emergencies. I never asked for it back. That was my error. The door caught on the chain lock, stopping short. A pause, then a sharp knock. My dad called my name, expecting me to rush over. He said we needed to talk to sort things out. My mom's voice came next, syrupy with fake concern, asking if my son was okay, if we were okay. As if they hadn't been dancing and laughing at a lavish party just hours earlier. As if my son hadn't sat on our couch wondering what he'd done wrong. I dressed quickly and went to the door. My husband didn't stop me. He knew I needed to hear their words or lack of them. They stood there, not remorseful, just uneasy, like they expected me to fix this for them. My mom held a pink bakery box. I noticed a Party City bag dangling from her arm. My dad stared at the ground. I asked him directly, "Why lie?" He said it wasn't exactly a lie, just bad timing. They thought we understood their financial struggles, that they didn't mean to hurt anyone. He even claimed the party was just a small gathering for the boys' new school year. I looked at him and said they'd thrown a full-blown carnival, that my son saw it live, that he cried when they didn't come. My mom cut in, saying it wasn't about favoritism, that I was overreacting, that we could have joined if we'd wanted, as if we'd been invited. Then my dad said something that twisted my gut. He mentioned their will, implying that if I kept making a fuss, I should consider the consequences. That some people forget who supported them growing up. That families make sacrifices. I told them we'd been making ours quietly for years. Paying their rent, covering my sister's car repairs, groceries, emergency dental bills, even gifts for her twins when they couldn't afford them. We never asked for thanks or favors. They never offered. I told them to leave. My dad hesitated, saying family resolves things. My husband stepped forward and firmly repeated that they needed to go. My mom muttered, "This is absurd," and turned away. Before they left the porch, I said one final thing. The rent payments were over for good. They'd have to manage just like we always had. They didn't respond. The day dragged. My son didn't mention them. He just played with his toys and asked if we could visit an arcade the next weekend. I said yes and promised his next birthday would be even better. He nodded and said he didn't like clowns anyway. That evening after dishes were done and my husband was folding laundry, I checked my phone. 23 notifications. My sister had shared a screenshot of my email, the rent check image with "return to sender." Her caption was long and smug, calling me jealous, bitter, saying I'd ruined a joyful day with petty drama and tried to punish our parents. Comments poured in from her friends, mutuals, even distant relatives. Some people just want attention. Isn't she the one who never shows up? So sad when siblings turn against each other. I wasn't shocked. But then I saw a message from my aunt buried in the noise. "You did the right thing, Nicole. It's about time." It was too late, though. I was already the bad guy. By Monday, my phone was a battlefield. Missed calls, voicemails, texts from numbers I hadn't saved in years. A cousin from Florida who I hadn't spoken to since my wedding called me immature. My mom's sister sent a long message starting with, "This isn't how you were raised." My uncle's wife said disrespecting elders was never the answer. I didn't respond. I muted the group chats and flipped my phone over. My husband offered to block them all, but I said no, let them vent. I wasn't angry anymore, I was done. That week, I started closing chapters. First, I emailed their landlord stating we were no longer responsible for their rent. I copied my dad. No response. Then I canceled the shared grocery account we'd been funding for my sister. Removed the auto payment from our bank. Canceled the Amazon Prime they all used. Changed the Netflix password. Changed everything. By Wednesday, my mom texted, no apology, just, "Your sister is heartbroken, the boys are confused, you've hurt this family." I read it while packing my son's lunch. He wanted pretzels, so I gave him 2 bags. That afternoon, he came home with a drawing in his backpack. Our little family, just me, my husband, and him, eating cake under a tree. He'd written, "The best birthday," in the corner. I asked if he wanted to hang it up. He said, "No, it's just for me." Thursday night, my sister went all out. She posted a long Facebook status declaring she no longer had a sister. She said she was done trying to include people who couldn't be happy for her family, that those who use money to control others don't belong in their lives. The post got nearly 100 likes, heart reactions, and comments like, "Proud of you for setting boundaries." The irony stung more than I expected. For a moment, I believed she meant it, that I'd truly lost my sister. I cried quietly in the bathroom, sitting on the closed toilet lid for 10, maybe 15 minutes. My husband didn't knock. He just waited in the hallway like always. When I came out, he held up a takeout menu and asked, "Pizza or Chinese?" I pointed to Chinese. He smiled. Later, I opened a drawer I hadn't touched in years, filled with old letters, cards, and random receipts. I found the envelope from when we gave my sister $5,000 for moving costs. She'd promised to repay us within a year. That was 7 years ago. I opened a file, a spreadsheet my husband kept of everything we'd covered. Rent, bills, birthdays, emergencies. It totaled over $15,000. No repayments, no gratitude, just expectations. I stared at that number, then closed the laptop and said to the empty room, "That's enough." But I knew it wasn't, because closure doesn't come in straight lines. Friday morning felt empty, like the calm before a storm everyone knows is coming. My husband was at a meeting. My son was in the living room, wrapped in a blanket, building a Lego police station, humming softly. I was on my second coffee when an email arrived. Subject, "Urgent past due rent." It wasn't spam, it was from my parents' landlord addressed to me. 2 months of unpaid rent. He'd waited because of our payment history, but needed to know if we were still covering the lease, or he'd issue a notice to vacate. I stared at the email, then archived it. An hour later, the calls started. My dad, my mom, then 2 unfamiliar numbers. I didn't answer or listen to the voicemails. Then Marcus, my sister's boyfriend, left a message. He wanted to mediate, calling it a misunderstanding, saying I didn't realize how tough things were for them. I remembered the Christmas he asked for $600 to surprise the twins, promising to repay me the next week. 3 years ago, I blocked him. Then a no-caller ID call came. I answered out of habit. It was my mom, starting with guilt. She said the boys were crying, my sister wasn't eating, that this had gone too far. When I stayed silent, her tone shifted. She offered $1,000 if I'd cover that month's rent, saying my dad was selling things and they'd sort it out soon. I asked what things. She paused, then said casually, "Some heirlooms, furniture, the china set, it's not a big deal. We just need time." It hit me. They were already planning to leave, to lose everything, and hadn't said a word until the money stopped. Then she said the line that cut deep. "You owe us, Nicole, for everything we did for you growing up." I hung up. No goodbye, no shouting, just done. When my husband came home, I told him everything. He didn't react, just listened, then pulled out an old folder from when we were newlyweds, tracking every expense. He showed me a circled number in red, our savings. "It's enough," he said. "Let's buy a house. New area, new neighbors, new start. Let them deal with their mess. We're done waiting." I nodded, feeling air fill my lungs for the first time in weeks. That night, while my husband browsed Zillow and my son sketched spaceships on a takeout menu, my phone buzzed. It was my sister. No rant, just 2 photos. The first was a receipt for a storage unit, 3 months prepaid in my parents' name at an address across town. The second was a crumpled handwritten note on yellow paper, my dad's handwriting. Addressed to me. The photo cut off the bottom, but I could read the start. "Nicole, if this is the end, there's something you didn't know. Your sister's first birthday, we couldn't afford gifts for both of you. We picked her and we kept picking her." That's where it stopped. No second page, no context, no closure. She didn't send the rest and I didn't ask. I hesitated before opening the second photo, letting it sit unopened, like a package I wasn't sure I wanted to handle. Part of me wondered if she'd even read it or just send it to hurt me more. Eventually, I opened it. Same yellow paper, same pen, same uneven handwriting from birthday cards of my childhood. My dad wrote fast, messy, often leaving out what mattered, but not this time. "We picked her," it read. "Not because she needed more, but because you didn't demand anything. We thought you wouldn't notice. You were quiet, easy, never complained. It was simpler to give to the one who was loud. That doesn't mean we were right. It means we were lazy and selfish." I put the phone down, breathless. I'd spent years thinking they didn't see it, that they didn't realize how much they gave her while I stood on the sidelines. But they knew. They saw. They just didn't care enough to change. I picked up the phone and read on. "I can't fix what we did. I don't expect forgiveness, but you were the one we should have bet on. You grew up to be the strongest in this family. I saw it but never said it. I thought there'd be time." That was it. No signature, no closing words. I stared at it, then walked to the kitchen. My husband was making popcorn for movie night. He asked if I was okay. I didn't answer right away. I hugged him and stayed there. Eventually I said, "We're not going back, are we?" He said, "No, we're not." The next morning, I forwarded the moving truck confirmation to their landlord, giving them until the end of the week. I didn't offer to help pack or ask where they were going. I didn't want to know. That afternoon, my mom texted, "Saw the truck. Thank you. I hope you'll understand someday." I read it twice, then deleted it. There was nothing to understand. They knew what they were doing every time. Every missed birthday, every unanswered call, every Christmas where my son got a scarf and my sister's twins got entire toy sets. It wasn't about forgetting. It was about choosing. And I was done being the one who stayed quiet. By Wednesday, they were gone, no forwarding address. My sister posted a vague story about fresh starts and new beginnings. I didn't watch it all. Instead, I watched my son in the backyard of the house we were buying. It had a lemon tree, a patch of dirt for a garden, and a rusty swing set he'd already claimed. He ran up and asked, "Can we plant carrots?" I said, "Of course." Then he asked if we were still camping for his next birthday. I told him it would be just us. He nodded like that was exactly what he wanted. That night, I tucked him into bed and looked at the bookshelf we'd built together, filled with stories he loved. Tales of underdogs who win, forgotten kids who rise, quiet ones who become heroes. For the first time, I saw myself in them. Not the resentful daughter or the bitter sister, but the woman who chose peace and stood by it. The week after they left, the air felt different. Not just in our home, but in me. I felt lighter. My chest didn't tighten when my phone buzzed. I didn't dread voicemails or surprise texts. Silence used to feel heavy, now it felt like freedom. We put an offer on the house with the lemon tree. It was accepted that Friday. When we told our son, he hugged me and asked, "Can we bring the Legos?" I said we'd bring everything, that nothing was staying behind. I meant it. I thought that was the end. But life has a way of circling back. 2 weeks after the move, I got a Facebook message from a woman named Trish, a daycare manager in another state. She was trying to reach someone in my family because my sister listed me as an emergency contact. I stared at the message before replying. My sister had moved 3 states away. Her boyfriend, Marcus, left after the move. She was working part-time at a supermarket and had enrolled the boys in a daycare she couldn't pay for. When her payment bounced, they tried contacting her, but she didn't answer. My number was the only one still active. I told Trish I was no longer in touch with my sister and couldn't help. She understood. 2 days later, there was a knock at our door in the early evening. My husband answered, thinking it was a neighbor. Instead, it was my parents, my sister, and her kids. They looked worn out. My sister's face was streaked with tears. My mom held a hastily packed bag. My dad said nothing. I didn't let them in. My sister said she had nowhere else to go, that she'd messed up, that she was sorry. But she didn't say the words I needed. I was wrong. You didn't deserve this. Just you don't know what it's like. I told her she was right. I didn't, because I was never allowed to fall apart. I was always the one holding it together. My mom tried to push past the door. My husband stepped in and told them to leave. My dad stayed silent, eyes on the floor, unable to look at me. My sister pleaded, saying they were out of options, that the boys didn't do anything wrong, that they missed me and loved their cousin. I didn't cry or yell. I said I forgave the debt, but not the hurt. Then I closed the door. They didn't knock again. They left. I don't know where they went. I haven't heard from them since. The sadness doesn't vanish all at once. It lingers, showing up in quiet moments, birthdays when my son says something kind, and I wonder where he got it from, because it wasn't from the people who raised me. But even that fades. We moved into the new house a month later. The lemon tree bloomed. My son planted carrots. My husband started painting again. I began writing at night, not about pain, but about peace, about people who choose themselves without apology. Sometimes I think of them, my parents, my sister. I wonder if they still blame me, if they even recall what they did. But it doesn't matter, because I learned the hardest lesson. Some people won't love you the way you need, even if they raised you, even if they say they do. You have to let them go, so I did. It's been nearly a year since I closed that door. People think cutting off family is loud, yelling final words, slamming doors. But the real end is quiet. It's in the things that stop happening. No more waiting for texts that never arrive, no more bending over backward for a fragile peace, no more pretending. We've been in the new house 8 months. It still smells like fresh paint. My son's room is exactly how he wanted it. Glow-in-the-dark stars, a bookshelf of space books, a poster of a robot on a dinosaur. He's never asked about them. I don't know if he's forgotten or if he remembers too well. The carrots sprouted in June. We made a big deal of pulling them up. He washed them like they were treasures. He said, "It's strange how you can grow something from nothing." I smiled but didn't reply. I was thinking the same about myself. In August, a debt collector emailed about my sister. She'd used my name as a reference years ago. I replied that we were no longer in contact. They thanked me. That was it. Just another thread cut. Sometimes I wonder if they think I'm heartless, if they sit in some rented room telling stories about how ungrateful I was. Maybe they have their version where I overreacted and abandoned people who loved me. Let them. Love isn't proven by staying. It's honored by knowing when to walk away. A few weeks ago, my husband and I sat on the back steps, drinking coffee as the sun rose. He said something simple that stayed with me. "You don't owe anyone your peace, Nicole." That's what I'd given away my whole life, my peace, to people who never noticed it was gone. Now I notice everything. My son's morning laugh, the quiet hum of our house at night, the way my husband squeezes my hand in the kitchen. The small, quiet life we built, one without apologies, without begging, without debts that will never be repaid. There's no big ending to this story. No twist. Just a truth. Sometimes you grow up thinking you're hard to love because no one loved you the way you needed. But you were never the problem. They just didn't have it in them.